A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Liolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a tactical pre-match analysis of Kaizer Chiefs versus Stellenbosch. So coming up then into this episode, the blue team will represent Kaizer Chiefs and then the red team will represent Stellenbosch. So when you have a look then at these two teams, firstly in Kaizer Chiefs, they currently do sit in fourth place with 37 points. So it is quite key then that at the end of the season that they are able to find themselves then within that second spot. So they're currently then competing to finish within that second spot for the CAF Champions League. When you have a look at Stellenbosch, they currently sit in 8th with 30 points. So when you have a look at Stellenbosch, then they are then looking then to cement their place within the top 8 and ensure that they can participate within the MTN 8 next season. But let's go then into this tactical pre-match analysis. So when you have then a look at Kaizer Chiefs with regards to how then they've been playing, the last time out then Kaizer Chiefs did beat Maritzburg United 3-2 and they scored 2 early goals within the first half and they were playing at a very high intensity. However, they failed to manage the game. Maritzburg United got back into the game. However, they managed to ensure then that they were able to win the game with Yusuf Mart then making it 3-2 from the spot. So when you do have a look then at Kaizer Chiefs then with regards to how they line up, in goals then, they do start with Brandon Peterson. So when you have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, then they do play a 4-2-3-1. So you do have Brandon Peterson in goal. And at left back, you've got Hlanti. As the left-sided centre back, you've got Edmilson. And then as the right-sided centre back, then the last time out, they did start with Macheke. And then they started with Solomons. However, we do know that the last time out, Ngezane did not play because he was suspended. But I do foresee him making his way back into this back line. So I do foresee Ngezane starting as a right-sided centre-back and then having Macheke as the right back. Moving on then right along within the heart of midfield. So within the heart of midfield, it is key to note then that Kaizer Chiefs will be without Yusuf Mart as he is suspended. So that then presents an opportunity for either Samkelo Zwane or Nange or Cole, depending on their fitness. But I do foresee Zwane coming into this double pivot alongside Sitebe. And then the last time out then, off the left-hand side, they did start with Keegan Dolly, started with Mdu as an attacking midfielder, and then off the right-hand side, they started with Saile, and then up front, they did start with Dupree. So when you have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side then, in possession, with regards to how then they're looking to impose themselves. So when you have a look at it then, in the beginning of the season, they were a side that was always looking to build up from deep and looking to play through the press. But when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs as of late, they are quite situational. And I would also say very inconsistent with regards to how they look to build up. Because then if the opposition doesn't press them, then they are able to actually try build up from the back. But when the opposition does look to press them, what you do see then is a lot of the times the centre-back would just look to go long. So when you have a look at this type of encounter, and you also look at Stellenbosch, the type of team they are, Stellenbosch do look to press. They do look to pick their moments, but they are a side that can actually press very well. And then when you move on then right along and have a look at Kaizer Chiefs in possession with regards to their offensive scheme. So when you have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, what they have been able to do then is ensure that they can, a lot of the times with regards to the offensive scheme, push both fullbacks up by virtue of the fact that they do play with the double pivot. So that then does then give them cover. So both those fullbacks can push up. So what you would see then with regards to the offensive scheme is somewhat of a 2-2-6, but it is quite situational because sometimes what you will see is that when the ball side fullback is offering width and is in possession, sometimes you will see the far side fullback looking then to tuck in, and then you'd see somewhat of that shape, which then becomes a 3-2-5 offensive scheme. And then when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs then with regards to their strengths, so this Kaizer Chiefs side then, when it comes to offensive transitions and counter-attacks, they're very strong in that regard, especially considering the type of players that they have with regards to being able then to attack the space in front of them, and also looking then to penetrate into the final third at speed. And also then when you consider the offensive set plays, they scored a couple of goals from those situations. So when you then have a look then at this Kaizer Chiefs side with regards to who are some of the key players going into this encounter, so we will start then with Ashley du Preez. So when you look at Ashley du Preez, I think this is a player then who has had much improved performances, especially considering that he's playing as a centre forward. So in the beginning of the season, we did see Ashley du Preez either coming off the left-hand side, sometimes coming off the right-hand side. But now we do see him in a centre-forward role where he's much better suited, where he plays then off the shoulder of the last defender, where then he is looking to make those runs in behind. I do think that is his best position, especially considering then how he's able to utilize his movement in behind, how then he's also able then to ensure that he gets himself into very good goal-scoring positions. That is one of his strengths then with regards to how he reads the game and his game intelligence. However, an area that he needs to work on then is his finishing, because he does tend to get into very good goal-scoring positions, but then he struggles then to finish. But when he does, a lot of the times he's able to have this good movement, very quick, and a player then who's also well and able with regards to being able to create and assist those goals as well. Moving on then right along, have a look at the next player. You do have Ndu. When you have a look at Ndu, he's been one of the most creative players for this Kaizer Chiefs side in recent times, especially considering his skill set. So when you have a look at Ndu, this is a player then who does offer you that lateral movement in between the lines with regards to then how then he's looking to take that ball and how then he looks to occupy different pockets of space on the football pitch. So a lot of the times it is the left side of half space, the right side of half space, and the central space as well. This is the player then who's also very quick. He's got an eye for goal as well. Another thing then with Mdu is that he is also key then with regards to sharing the responsibilities for set pieces alongside Keegan Dolly. And then when you do then have a look at an area then which I think will be a focus area for this Kaizer Chiefs side is within the heart of midfield, especially considering that they have been struggling within the heart of midfield. And we do know that Zwane was then introduced shortly after Blom left, but Zwane then did struggle then within the heart of midfield. That's when we saw Sitebe coming back into the lineup alongside Yusuf Mart. So it's going to be very interesting then to see how Zwane and Sitebe cope. That's if they do start together. So when you then have a look at Kaizer Chiefs with regards to how they look to press. So Kaizer Chiefs then, at times, they do look to press, but I must say that their press does become quite disjointed. So a lot of the times, opposition is able to play through their press. So sometimes what you would see from them with regards to how they would be looking to press, let's just give them that. So sometimes what you would see then is that they would sort of press sort of in that block, in that manner. Sometimes they are able then to press with the two whenever Mdu then does join Ashley du Preez. So if their press then was much more coordinated, I think that Kaizer Chiefs would have better success with regards to being able then to win the ball back and then counter-attack from those situations. So I do think that is an area that they really need to improve in, especially considering that at times their press is quite disjointed. At times then they do look to sit back within a mid-block when they don't look to press, and their mid-block would then become a 4-2-3-1 mid-block, where then they try then to become very compact and ensure that they can deny opposition space in between the lines to ensure then that they can't play through them. And then when you have a look at set pieces, like I did mention, you then have Keegan Dolly and Mdu, who are quite key in that regard with regards to the offensive set pieces. And we do know that Kaizer Chiefs have scored a couple of goals from those set pieces. Also, when you also have a look at them, whenever then they do look to penetrate in the wide areas and bring those crosses in, that's also another area then where at times they look very dangerous. And then when you then move on then right along and have a look at Stellenbosch. So when you do have a look at Stellenbosch, I did mention that they currently do sit at 8th, And with them sitting at 8th, then they will obviously be looking then to ensure that they can cement their spot within the top 8 and ensure that they can play then within the MTN 8 next season. So when you have a look at Stellenbosch then, in recent times they've been in very, very good form, especially considering then that at some point during the season they were sitting at the bottom of the table. They were really struggling, but in January, in comes Reynolds, in comes Henry de Jong, and all of a sudden they're scoring the goals, they're playing very well, and they are able then to start picking up those wins consecutively. So this Stellenbosch side are quite in form, and they've been doing very, very well. And I must say that even then in front of goal, they've created so many chances, but in the last game against Amazulu, their finishing was very poor in front of goal, because that is a game that they could have scored a lot of goals. However, let's go then into this Stellenbosch side with regards to then how then they will be looking to line up. So when you have a look at this Stellenbosch side, in goals, you've got Sage Stevens. Stellenbosch as well do play then with a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes it does become somewhat of a 4-4-1-1, with Andre de Jong then looking to play as a second striker. And then at right back, you've got Van Rooyen, you've got Makanya, you've got Sibia, and then you've got Sibande. But we also do know that in the left back position, they also do then have Fawaz Bazadine, who, if he is fit, I do think that he will come back into the starting lineup, because he is such a key player for this Stellenbosch side, especially considering then his technical ability, his game intelligence, and his creativity as well within the left wide channel, be it from deep when he's looking to deliver those crosses, whenever then he's found himself then within the final third, he's looking to overlap, and also when it comes into offensive set plays for this Stellenbosch side, as he does deliver very good balls into the box. And then when you then move on then right along, just like Kaizer Chiefs, Stellenbosch will also be without their midfielder, Mthethwa, who's been very key for them. So they are without Mthethwa, who does play as a defensive midfielder for this Stellenbosch side. So Stellenbosch do have a number of options within the heart of midfield, but I do foresee them then going with Unduli and Jabbar as well as their double pivot. But there's also Jaden Adams as well, who can also look to make a contribution within the heart of midfield. But I do see Nduli starting there. And then when you move on then right along with regards to the Stellenbosch side, then they've got Titus off the right-hand side. They've got Andre de Jong. They've got Mendieta. And then up front, they've got Reynolds, the man then who is in form, who just can't stop scoring. So when you have a look at the Stellenbosch side with regards to how then they're looking to impose themselves in possession. So Stellenbosch in possession then, they do look to build up from very deep. So they are quite comfortable with regards to building up from deep and looking to play through the press. Sometimes you will see them go long, but more often than not, they are looking to build up from deep, as they are very comfortable in possession with regards to then how they'd be looking to build up. When you have a look at them further up the pitch with regards to the offensive scheme and what they look like then in possession of the ball. So when you have a look at this Stellenbosch side, similar then to Kaizer Chiefs, there are periods and moments within the game where they can actually push both fullbacks, because they do play with the double pivot, which then ensures that they do have cover with regards then to having a very organized rest defense. So a lot of the times what you will see then is Van Rooyen on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, either Sibande or Fawaz Bazadine if he is fully fit. And then let's just push the center backs there. Then you'd have your double pivot, and then you'd have Titus. Just push them. You've got Andre de Jong, you've got Reynolds, and then you've got Mendieta, and yeah, let's just do that. So a lot of the times then you will see this 2-2-6 offensive scheme, but sometimes what you will see then is ball side fullback. So let's say Bazadine has overlapped, then you will see Van Rooyen holding a deeper pocket of space, and that then does make it a 3-2-5 offensive scheme. Can also become a 2-3-5 if he does push into that line of midfield. So when you then have a look at this Stellenbosch side then with regards to their key players. So when you have a look at Stellenbosch then, there's a couple of players then who I think going into this encounter are quite key. We'll start with Titus. So when you have a look at Titus, he does play on the right side. So with Titus, he does tend to occupy the right wide channel a lot more in comparison to his winger partner, that is Mendieta, who tends to drift in. So when you have a look at Titus, this is a player then who's very quick and possesses very, very good movement in behind, and is also then a good finisher, as he's been able to score quite a couple of goals for this Stellenbosch side. So with Titus then, he isn't a player then who is really strong at dribbling 1v1, but what he's good at then is his movement, double movements, where then he's able to come short, fullback comes with him, he's able to spin in behind, gets it, and he's able to finish. He scored a couple of goals like that this season, and also then within the final third, he's quite efficient with regards to being able to pick the right pass, as he does have a very good final ball. So if he's not looking then to finish himself, he is able then to set up a teammate. When you move on then right along, you then have Mendieta. So when you have a look at Mendieta, this is their playmaker, and he plays as a wide playmaker. So when you have a look at Mendieta, he does start off the left-hand side within that left wide channel, and then he looks to drift in a lot of the times. When you look at Mendieta, he is quite the skillful player. He's very creative, very aggressive, and a player then who also has an eye for goal himself. Also key then when it comes then to those set pieces alongside Fawaz Bazadine. So Mendieta then is quite dangerous, because what he does then, he's able then to ensure that he drifts within this left side of half space. He drifts within the central channel. He also drifts into the box a lot of the times. And when you do have Mendieta drifting in, and you've got Reynolds, and then you've got Andre de Jong, they're able then to institute this overload within this central area, where then they've got this neat, tidy combination passes in between them, very quick. So in and around the box, they're well and able with regards to playing combination passes. So they do like to play these very neat 1-2s, where maybe you have Mendieta, give it to Reynolds, look then to get onto the end of it. Sometimes you've got Mendieta who's looking to slip in a very, very creative pass for this Reynolds. Sometimes then it is Andre de Jong who is able then to also play those passes. So in and around the box, they are very comfortable within those tight pockets of space. They can play in congestion. And then when you also look at them then when they do find themselves deep within their own half, from a transition perspective, Stellenbosch is actually one of the best teams within the country with regards to offensive transitions and counter-attacks, especially considering the type of players that they have, the speed, the efficiency, being able to pick the right pass, the weight of pass, and being able to ensure that they can finish off. But I did mention that in possession then, the weakness then is that they're not clinical. So they do create a lot of chances where you have these lovely combination plays, but then a lot of times they're not clinical in front of goal, this Stellenbosch side. So that is an area that they could look to improve. And if they do look to improve in that area, I do think that they will finish then well within the top 8 if they can look to finish off those chances that they do create. With this Stellenbosch side, I did mention that they do look to press. So what would that look like? So when you have a look at this Stellenbosch side, we do play a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1-1. So a lot of the times, Andre de Jong does look to join, and then they would be looking then to press with two. You'd have Andre de Jong, and then you'd have Reynolds as well, as they'd be looking to press. Without the ball, what do they look like? So when you have a look at the Stellenbosch side then, without the ball, when they do sit deep, this is what you would see. So without the ball then, they become very, very compact 4-2-3-1. And I did mention that from this picture and from this phase of play, they are able then to hurt the opposition with regards to winning the ball back, offensive transitions, and then being able to successfully counter-attack. So this Stellenbosch side then is quite a dangerous team then in possession and out of possession as well. However, when you then have a look at this Stellenbosch side, what are some of the weaknesses? So Stellenbosch then look very vulnerable with regards to defending crosses, and also then when it comes to set pieces, which makes it very interesting then, because you got two teams which are quite vulnerable then with defending set pieces and crosses. So with Kaizer Chiefs as well, they do look quite vulnerable with regards to those defensive set plays, where a lot of the times opposition is able to get first contact within the box. And when you look at Stellenbosch, they look very vulnerable when it comes to defending those crosses. So ladies and gentlemen, it is quite an interesting encounter then, as 4th does take on 8th within the Dstv Premiership. Yes, Kaizer Chiefs will be looking to get all 3 points, because they are looking then to compete for that second spot so that they can play within the CAF Champions League. With Stellenbosch then, they are looking then to climb further up the table and ensure that they can cement their place within the top 8. So it is then a very interesting encounter then coming up this weekend between Kaizer Chiefs and Stellenbosch at home. Do let me know who walks away with this one, or do you think it will be a draw, a point apiece? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Liolo. Signing out.